Welcome to the RVA Returners Podcast, your newest source for all things Final Fantasy TCG. Yeah, dude, all you have to look forward to when you get my age is nothing but constant back pain and dinner at 4:30.
Nice.
But, speaking of looking forward to things, guys, we're back with another episode of the RVA Returners Podcast. Again, this is the second apology I've had to make on this. We're a week behind. And I blame myself, but I also partially blame Curtis, just because he's not here and we can blame him. But, so we had an episode that we recorded on the way back from Philly.
Yeah.
But the file, we recorded it, and what type of file was it?
It was something weird. I don't remember, but I had trouble.
Some shit that spies use.
I had trouble converting it, and then there was also, even when listening to it, we had a lot of sound problems.
Yeah, it was. We're driving on the interstate, trying to get back home. So maybe it wasn't the best place, but I thought it was a really good take. So maybe that'll be an unreleased B-side at some point to share with everybody. But anyway, I'm your host, as always, Chris Adams. With me, as always, is Adam Lane. So we got a lot to talk about today. We've had a lot of spoilers come out.
Yep.
We're going to touch on the tournament up in Philly that we didn't get a chance to speak about yet, which was last weekend.
Yep.
And then we got Kansas City coming up, so we want to talk about how things are going to look, heading into the next North American Crystal Cup. So with that being said, I want to start with a huge shout out to the guys at Games Haven. It is Games Haven, not Gamers Haven, right? I get it mixed up because, all those words kind of blend together.
Pretty sure it's Gamers Haven.
I think so.
Yeah.
But anyway, all those guys there, fantastic tournament. The cookie cake thus far has been superb. You guys run a great operation, and thank you for having us. The hospitality was second to none. And I can honestly say every time we've gone somewhere for an event, they just really treat people coming from out of town like gold. And, we appreciate that a lot, and we would come down and visit us, man, we'll extend that same, hospitality to you. But overall, I don't want to talk too much on the tournament. It was a great tournament because we have so much more to talk about. We all did very well. It was myself, Adam, and Curtis Kang went with us. There was 5 rounds of Swiss with a top 8 cut. I finished 4-1 in Swiss. Ended up finishing as the 4th seed overall. Curtis also went 4-1, finishes the 5th seed. And Adam, you kicked ass in Swiss. You went fucking 5-0.
Yeah, I would have rather kicked ass in top 8, but that's okay.
Yes, same. Yeah,
no, it was my deck was on fire pretty good.
Yeah.
Swiss. So yeah, I was 5. I was the only undefeated.
Yeah, you were only one defeated going into top 8. So, of course, with standard top 8 pairings, I had to play against Curtis. I was on Old Reliable, good old Fire Ice. Curtis was on 3-color monsters, and you were also on 3-color monsters. Yours and Curtis's build were
pretty similar.
A few cards difference.
Yeah.
Curtis beat me in our top 8 match. First game was good. Second game, I thought he trolled the shit out of me just because I had the Mirage Dive on deck for the win. And he's starting to scoop it up, and he was like, "Oh no, wait a minute! I've got a Chaos and Walker of the Wheel in my hand. Well, I guess I'll scoop it up instead then."
Yep.
But Curtis, hell of a job. Went through top 8. It was him versus Colin Rupert.
Yep.
Who I know that was one of your top 8 opponents.
Yeah, that was my loss. So he was playing mono ice.
Mm-hmm.
He got a lot of the stuff, the discard going that he needed to get going.
Yeah.
I was never really able to play too much. I was in the game for a little bit, but he just had more gas than me for the most part.
It happens.
I made a few mistakes for sure that I shouldn't have made. But happens sometimes.
It happens. It was good. It was good practice for Kansas City coming up because there was a lot of good players there, a lot of great matches. Again, a lot of good people, and big congratulations to Curtis Kang for winning the whole thing and bringing that cookie cake home to Daddy. So from here on out, if you see him, call him Cookie Kang, because that's what we're calling him here on this podcast moving forward. But great job, Curtis. Great job to everybody who was at that tournament. Thanks again, and we can't wait to come up to the next one. So, with that being said, let's kind of get into the proper news.
I promise we'll get a soundbite at some point.
We need to because that hurts my throat doing that to go along with the back pain. But so yeah, a lot of spoilers since we last did an episode. Let's just put on the swimming trunks and dive right in.
Yeah, so I have a list. It's been a while. So there were a couple that we covered on the unreleased episode.
Yes.
We'll just recover because it's never been released. So the first one's Ninwu. He's a 4-drop forward, water, 7K. When he enters the field, reveal the top 5 cards of your deck. Add 1 summon among them to your hand, put the rest in the bottom of any order.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever he attacks, you may cast one summon of cost 4 or less from your hand without paying the cost.
I think he's fine. I think he'll fit great in like those Garnet summons decks. I think he's going to see a lot of play. I just don't know in what capacity and what build he's going to be in. I think he's great. I think he's absolutely great.
Yeah, I think they're trying to push this thing where I guess you're allowed to play off-color summons, and that kind of stacks well with Garnet and the previous Earth backup that we talked about, and this guy. So maybe like some kind of heavy summon deck.
Yeah,
might
just
be good.
Like an oops all spells kind of deck.
Almost. I don't feel like that's gonna be good because how do you win?
Right.
But maybe something that's like really summon heavy. Just tons of removal and ways to cast different colored stuff. And
because I feel like at that point, if you just stick a dude and they can't stick anything, you're just gonna win the long game.
I mean, maybe some Water Earth deck with like just different kinds of summons with Garnet and this guy.
Sure.
Something like that. Maybe it'll work. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
So the next card is a monster, a lightning monster, Colossus. So 4 CP monster, type 0. For 0, until end of turn, he becomes a forward, 7k power, and when he attacks, deal 1,000 damage to all forwards opponent controls.
I think he's good.
Yeah.
I think he's fantastic. Again, I don't know what capacity he'll see play in, but in a lightning deck, since those guys are a little undersized, that 1,000 damage that it does across the board could be critical. And it also gives you... it's good to like maybe go into an Orlando off of that thing. You know what I mean? So I think there's some plays with him. So I think he's fine.
Yeah, it also combos well with cards like Angel Penance and Black Mage, stuff like that.
Yep. Onion Knight.
I think the biggest thing is the fact that he costs 0 to activate.
Yeah, it's always nice.
You don't have to pay any extra CP. It just kind of comes forward, like Ozma, kind of.
Yep.
I do wish he was like maybe a 3-drop that would bring like more Azul's cool stuff with.
Sure.
Make better use of that card.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this kind of puts that card a little bit out of reach, but I don't think it's bad.
No.
I could see it being played in some kind of wind lightning thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe.
Yeah, that extra damage, that ping damage is good.
I think what might hold it back is that it just costs 4. It might be too expensive.
Oh, for sure.
But we'll see. I'm sure people will try it. The next card I have is Kyros. He's a 2 CP fire forward. Final Fantasy 8 category. He's a job warrior. When he enters the field, choose one forward other than Kyros. He gains plus 2,000 power. If the forward that you chose is category 8, it gains haste, first strike, and brave until end of turn. And the 2,000 power is also until end of turn.
So category 8 fire ice, you say? Sign me up, because I'll play that.
Yeah.
I think that guy's good.
So there's in fire, there's only a couple of targets. There's like Ward and Zell, I think, and those don't really see much play. So all the good targets are kind of in ice.
Squall Laguna.
And they're already pretty big. But I mean, first strike, getting all 3 keywords is pretty
juicy.
good.
It is juicy.
Maybe they're going to print some other lower drop stuff to make this really good.
Also, he is a fucking hot rod in title.
Oh, yeah.
In title, he's a stud muffin.
In title, he's real good.
Yeah, that guy.
And always like to see category support.
Me, dude, I can't harp on that enough.
Yeah, I like, yeah. And it's weird because I don't really consider them tribal. I guess they are, like, if you compare it to, like, Magic and stuff. Like, more tribal to me is, like, knights and monsters and stuff like that. Whereas, like, to me, like, category is almost, like, something different.
Like teams and versus,
yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But I think he's good. I think he'll definitely see play. I can't wait to see what old Austin does with him.
Yeah. I'm sure some people will try him out. Maybe it'll be good. So the next card we have is pretty interesting. It's Leon.
Yeah.
He's a 1 CP wind forward, Final Fantasy 2 category rebel, job rebel. When he enters the field, your opponent gains control of Leon. When a category 2 character of your opponent's enters the field, your opponent gains control of Leon. And he's an AK, so he's a 1 CP
Yeah,
AK.
so he's a big boy, and I don't know what to think of him because you really have to set up for him to be effective. And I don't mean that in a way like, if you're playing a category 2 deck, if you're playing a rebel deck, I think he's no more than a 1, maybe 2 of. And because the minute he comes into play, he's going cross country. Now, granted, if you set it up on a turn where you're going to play somebody else, you get him right back, so you're fine. So I guess maybe in that regard, he's better than I'm thinking because you're never going to play him by himself. I think that's a huge mistake. But what sucks is we don't know how good these rebels are going to be across the board. So I think he can be a liability in that regard. If you play one and then your opponent plays one, or if they're playing Maria or the Water... no, Minu's not a rebel, I'm sorry.
No, yeah, he's not.
But he could end up jumping ship, and then he could end up doing more damage to you. I think he's good. I think he's a very fair card for his size and his his cost. I just think I think he could potentially bite you in the ass, and that worries me.
I think it really depends on how good the Category 2 characters
Correct.
are
I agree
outside
with
of this deck.
I agree.
Because obviously in this deck you're concentrating on playing multiple Category 2.
Yeah, because you're going to drop him, and then for 2 you're going to drop Furion.
But what worries me is when you play him, you get him back, and now you got 2 dudes who've tempo swung the board.
Yeah.
But then say they're playing a completely different deck, and they play Minwoo, right?
Yeah.
Now this guy switches back to their side.
Yep.
Now they got Minwoo, and they got this Leon as well. Yeah. Also, he specifically says character, so that even means if your opponent plays a Category 2 backup,
yeah,
you could steal him.
That's why
I think if you build a deck, though, you can make him work,
yeah.
and he can really swing tempo of a game.
Yeah, I think he's a 1, maybe 2 of in the deck. I'm not sold on him yet. I think he has. I'll say it like this. I think he has potential to be good.
Yeah. One card that works really well with him is Shimhaze. Is really good.
He's
a 1 CP that you can't block at that
absolutely.
point.
I agree with that. 100%.
And he's hard to remove because he's an AK. He's a 1 CP AK.
So. Oh yeah, and he can just kind of he can kind of be played off of like in that Ice Wind deck that Jason likes, the little flow to the ground. You can jam that guy off of Shulker, whoever it is, or whoever, or Zargabath.
But when he comes off those two, he still switches sides.
Which is fine.
Yeah. So I mean, he could see play.
But is he also one of those things that say you play one, goes to your opponent's side, and you play another one? Does he just stay on your side?
I think so, because I think at that point it would create an illegal board state, so they just don't move. That's my guess.
Which is why I think 2 of would be fine. But I don't want to dwell on that guy. We'll talk about that as we start seeing more of the set.
Yeah, I think that'll have to be a rule that's stated because of all this side switching stuff.
Yeah.
Whether or not if we both have the same thing, do they come over, do they both break, or do they just never come over because it's an illegal board?
Just like Kane.
Yeah. So the next card is Garland. He's a 5 CP fire, Category 1. He's a knight. 9K, so on curve. If you control a job princess, the job knight forward, you control gain brave. Blaze, which is an S and a fire. Choose 1 forward, deal at 7,000 damage. And then he has Round Edge, which is another S. So this is the second card that's been printed with 2 S's on the same card.
The other one was Light Cloud.
Light Cloud, yeah. So for S, 2 fire and 1 colorless. Choose 1 forward, break it, and deal 5,000 damage to all the forwards opponent controls.
And he's a legendary, right? He's the fire legendary?
He is a fire legendary.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think he's excellent. I think he is an excellent card. And I know I posted something in our group chat the other day about going back like that fire water aggro where you like use Ash and you have Steiner, Beatrix, this guy. Because I think Steiner and Beatrix with Brave, it's pretty okay.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty okay.
Yeah, I think it would have to be almost a different build and go away from like the lightning. I mean, unless you're trying now you're getting into like 3-4 color territory.
Yeah,
which could be good, maybe.
Yes,
it's possible. Both his S's are pretty good. I think Blaze is a little
Yeah, it's very
whatever
current fire.
But Round Edge is good. My thing is, and I think I've seen people argue about this. But his S is just a straight break effect, but it deals 5,000 to all forwards. So I wonder if that breaks Vincent or not.
Interesting.
Because it is breaking and doing damage, even though the damage isn't killing Vincent.
Yeah, because you can't be broken by things that don't do damage. Oh, yeah.
So it's kind of weird.
Does it same thing with Ash if Wrestler's out?
Yeah, and the same thing with New Stola.
Very interesting.
So I'm not sure the ruling on that. I don't want to speak for Kageyama, but this is the first time there hasn't been an ability like this.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure how to proceed on that.
Yeah, like how the order of operations there is. But we'll stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
Overall, I think he's a great card.
I think he's good. And again, in Water Fire, maybe like Water Fire, like not like full on Knights, but enough Knights to make it work. I mean, Clady's a gross card.
Yeah, you're still running the water staples. You're running Corellia. You're running Ash. You're running Gordon.
Just having Clady gives this guy Brave.
Yep, and you're running Scott at that point as well. Princes and Knights, man. Then you get access to shit like Vivi and Sabin. So I think
maybe it'll be a good fire deck with a lot of fire cards in it, not just like
yeah.
We'll see. I have a feeling it's going to end up being one of those decks where it's like we'll play the good fire cards and
that's 100% what it's going to be.
But I mean,
you're instead of just playing Steiner and instead of playing Sabin and Vivi, now you're playing Sabin, Vivi, Garland.
Yeah.
So it's all right.
The next card is Kurasame. He's a 5 CP Ice Forward EX Burst, 7K. When he enters the field, you can search for one card named Enema or one card named Kazusa and add it to your hand. Ice Forwards other than Kurasame, you control gain plus 1,000 power.
He's fine. who would have thought in these last couple sets that the top curve of ice would be really crowded? Because if you're playing discard ice, you're not even looking at that guy.
No, you're not.
Hell, if you're playing like the heavy discard ice, you're not even looking at Setzer anymore. So that should say something.
Yep.
And that guy's nowhere near as good as Setzer is.
Yeah, a lot of people are cutting Setzer from their lists.
So I think he's fine.
Well, okay, so he's different than Setzer, right?
Yes.
He can search for... Well, Setzer can search for a backup too, but this guy can search for 2 different backups.
Yeah, which
Setzer has 1 backup target, which isn't bad. It's another tutor.
which the old Kazuza is in the discard
Yeah.
or in some of them.
Yeah, but I still don't... I think you're right. I don't think you run this in the discard heavy build. And he is an Anthem. So this is like the first like ice forward Anthem card.
Which is fine in and of itself. Which I think if you're going like kind of a big, mid-rangey kind of ice build, I think he's fine. I don't know. I'm not going to say he's bad, but I think the new Kuja's better. I think Setzer's still better. I think clearly Orphan's still better. Hell, I think Zed is better than that guy. I mean, I don't want to use the word better. Mm-hmm. And also Sid Alstein is just the fucking king right now as far as 5
Yeah,
CP.
if you're in that straight discard.
Yeah. So I want to see somebody do something with him. I think he's good. Just
okay. Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, I could see decks where he's good. Like, again, if the tempo like ice deck comes out, where you're playing the new Kurasama or the new Kazusa and this Kurasama.
correct.
You could do some cool stuff, and maybe they're gonna print another enema. I know I don't remember what she does. I know she's a backup.
Oh yeah.
I don't remember what she does. This is probably my favorite card that they've shown thus far.
So far, yes. This one coming up.
Yeah. For me at least. So you got Leo. He's a 1 CP Earth forward.
Hail to the king.
Yeah, he's a Job King. Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. Mm-hmm. For each character other than Leo you control, Leo gains he's a 1K. He's a 1K. But for each other character you control, he gets 1,000 power, and then backups you control can produce CP of any element.
So, remember how we were saying that like 3-color like 3-color decks and 4-color decks may now become a lot easier to navigate because of this guy. He is a legendary. He's the second Earth legendary that we've seen.
Yeah, well, we kind of see both now technically.
Yeah, because we saw the one before, but I think this guy is really, really good. To what effect, I don't know yet, but I think if you want to really get fucking wacky and do something crazy, this guy is the backbone of all of that.
Yeah, I think he really opens the door to a lot of things.
Yes.
Being a 1 CP means that any of like the straight break kind of stuff is going to hit him, no matter how big he gets.
Right.
So if he gets out of control, you'll see shit come back into him at like Salbag.
Oh yeah.
And just shit that like breaks 2 or less, stuff like that.
Yep.
However, I do think he's kind of nutty if
for what he does, for what he costs.
That's
fine.
In any kind of like combo centric deck that's like multiple colors, like 2, 3, 4, that has monsters in it that are doing things, this guy can get really big.
Yeah, he could end up being a 1 CP 12, 13K on his own.
I think it's really easy to get him to 8, which is
hands
good
down.
enough.
Absolutely.
Like if you're playing this guy in like Earth, like the deck that I instantly thought of was Urianger Mill, where you're running 4 colors. He's a Phoenix target, both Phoenixes. You're constantly recurring monsters. You constantly have like 2 to 3 monsters on the field at a time. You usually build to 5 backups.
Yeah.
That if you have 2 monsters and 5 backups, he's an 8K.
He immediately.
And then typically you're just putting a board state out that just stalls and you're milling. And then this guy helps you do that too.
Oh yeah.
I mean he's pretty gross. I'm definitely gonna do some stuff with him. I'm sure.
I think he's a great card. Absolutely great card.
Yeah, I think he's real good.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what kind of wackiness people build with him. But I think he's excellent. He's excellent. Yeah. Worthy of being a legendary for sure.
So the next card, maybe not so great, is Hades. It's a 5 CP Ice Summon. I think it's category 7. For whatever that
Which
means.
could be fine for you if that's for your title deck.
And Mobius.
Sure.
Choose 1 Dole forward, break it. The owner of this forward discards 1 card from his or her hand.
Barf. Yeah, I don't think it's good enough. Look, I think it'll be great and sealed. But I think just when you look at like ice decks or even X ice decks, it costs too much. Now, if that thing was burst, if it was burst, I'd reconsider it. But in ice decks or even again X ice decks, we'll use Earth Ice as the best example, or even Water Ice. You're not getting rid of your Doom Trains. You're not cutting your Mateuses, your Shivas, your Zaleras, and then you start getting into the X. You're not cutting your Hecaton chairs, your Titans. You're not cutting your Leviathans or your Bismarcks. That card just isn't good enough.
Yeah, I had two thoughts on this. Like, one, obviously, put a burst on it, and I think it's playable.
Yeah.
I still don't know if it's good enough, even with the burst. I don't know if it sees play. Because you're putting a 5 CP summon in that you probably just don't ever want to cast it. My other thought was, what if it was 4 CP, and all it did was break a dull forward? I feel like that would be fine. That would actually be good in like other ice decks, like this other archetype that they're obviously trying to push with like tempo, where now ice actually has like a removal spell. And I feel like a 4 CP card that does that, the other ice deck probably wouldn't even run.
Oh, I agree.
I agree. Like, they don't even care.
Yeah.
But maybe that is too good. I'm not sure. That was just my thought on it.
Yeah, and I think that a card like that's close. It can go from unplayable to busted very quickly.
Yeah.
But I think as of right now, it's unplayable. Great and sealed, but unplayable and constructed.
Yeah. So, this was also revealed at E3, which was pretty cool.
Absolutely, man. It was really cool seeing the game kind of take center stage there for a minute. So I was excited
I'm glad
to
that
see
they're actually like putting it on their main stuff, and a lot of people were watching. So it's awesome.
Shout outs to Josephine and the Break Zone. Those guys getting on there and getting some personalities in the community actually being able to be the ones to highlight the game, and so I thought that was really cool.
Yep.
So
then the next card they showed at E3 was Astenian.
You mean Einstein?
Einstein. He's a 3 CP lightning forward. So instantly you're like, oh, he's an Alcid target, but he's not.
Yep.
Because you can only pay with CP produced by lightning backups to play him from your hand onto the field. So that means you can't ever Alcid him from your hand onto the field.
Right.
Because he's required that if you play him from your hand, you have to tap 3 ice.
Right, but it's already been officially ruled for anybody. He can be Zemus back in. He can be Devouted back in. Phoenix. Anything that recurs him from not your hand, it's perfectly legal. And I think that guy's insane. I think that dude is a really good card.
I didn't get to the part that makes him good.
Yeah.
So he has haste, first strike, and he's on curve at 7K.
Fucking insane.
And he's a 14 card, so 14 title decks maybe. But again, his restriction still applies to title. So.
Yeah. And here's the thing, I don't even care about his job. Sorry, Okimoto. I don't care about his job.
Yeah, he's a Dragoon.
He's a Dragoon, which I think in Dragoon decks, which are typically lightning splashing water, he can be a little awkward. Dude, in the fast mono lightning decks, when you get that guy and Hildebrand going, you're in fucking trouble.
And Alua.
Yeah, because if you got Lulu out, he's a 8K with first strike that's getting in those guts every turn. That guy's good.
Yeah. So he is a little bit slower just because you have to have 3 backups out, but that's really easy to do in Lightning.
In Lightning? Yeah.
There have been times where I had easily 2, like most of the time I have 2 backups on turn 1.
That's what I'm saying.
The way you build the faster version is you just have a shit ton of 2 CP backups.
Yep.
And sometimes some of them run Summoner and stuff like that to help you ramp, and if you're running that, then it's really easy to play this guy.
And the thing is, it's not even the haste. The haste is great. It's the first strike. Whenever you have an on-curve guy with first strike, that's brutal. Because you have to swing higher than him, and Lightning has a ton of power reduction and a ton of damage.
Yeah. So I will say, just the Nimbus, let's see, was a 3 CP 8K?
Yeah.
And I want to say he had first strike as well. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't see any play. However, it's Ice.
Right. Ice doesn't give a shit about that.
They don't really care. But I do think this is more relevant in Lightning.
Oh, 100%.
So I think he's good.
Mm-hmm. I think he immediately goes into the fast mono lightning builds in some capacity. 2 of, 3 of, I don't know. But I think he is really, really good.
Yeah.
That's the type of card that has an immediate impact on an archetype. Mm-hmm. So he's in. He is 100% in.
So then the last E3 spoiler was another lightning card, 3 CP forward. This is an Alcid target. Mm-hmm. Cypher, he's an EX burst, 3K power, so like way low.
Barf.
When he enters the field, you can search for 1 job witch and add it to your hand.
So pretty much he's coming in and searching for Adia.
So there's currently 2 Adias, the backup and the forward, which the forward sees play in every mono lightning deck.
It's a 3 of.
And then Ultimecia, which is a water card that's really too slow and doesn't see much play right
absolutely.
Now. So those are his 3 targets. But the one that does see play, and he's the same element as that one, which makes me think that maybe he's okay. But like, the thing is, I don't know if he's worth the deck slot. I don't even know if you care to Alcid him out. Like,
no, because like we talked about earlier, more times than not, unless it's going to be a tempo swing, like to play her on the board, you want a Dia off the top.
Yeah, I think you'd rather just have her burst.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're playing this card, what you're saying is like, I want to use death every game.
Yeah.
And even then, like, you might not get it. Because you're not running more than one Cypher.
No, hell no.
So I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't think he's unplayable.
I think he's fine in, like, title.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
I don't even know if he's good title, to be honest. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Because Adia, the 6-drop Adia that's good is only good in Mono Lightning.
Yeah, true. And
So-
I think you just skip that guy. You go right back to whole Einstein, and because that guy is E equals MC in those guts. Because that guy sucks. Einstein, awesome. Or Estinian.
Estinian, yeah.
We're calling him Einstein, by the way.
I play the game, so I'm going to call him Estinian.
Well, go to hell.
So the next one was spoiled by the Chocobros podcast.
Yeah.
So
Shout out to those
them.
guys, as always.
Yeah, give them a follow if you can, for sure. It's Mushushu. I think that's how you say it. It's a 2CP Earth monster, Type 0. So a lot of Type 0 monsters in this set.
Turns out that's a favorite category of the game here.
His job is a Marduk, which I think is kind of funny, but whatever.
Oh, I immediately think Marduk from Tekken.
Yeah.
Just
exactly.
suplexing people left and right.
But for 1 Earth, 1 colorless, put him in the break zone, choose a dull forward, break it.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I think it's a good piece of removal. Don't have to dull it, which I think is critical. You just pay for it and then remove it. So, and I know they talked about it on their podcast when they spoiled it. You can get tricky with like Realm and stuff like that. So
we talked about it on ours too as well.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I think it's absolutely fine.
Yeah, again, it's one of those cards where I'm not sure if it quite makes the cut, but it's not unplayable or terrible.
Absolutely.
And it has uses.
I think it'll be fine in sealed as well.
Oh, yeah, for sure. The next spoiler that came out was the level 1 Onion Knight spoiler. So shout out to them as well. A lot of community spoilers because, there was basically they told us we couldn't release them before the 15th, and then the 15th kind of the floodgates opened.
Yeah, which is awesome. And again, I definitely want to thank Square Enix for that, and for letting the community get involved heavily with Opus 6.
So their spoiler was a 4 CP summon Cactuar.
Yeah, I like this card.
And it says basically for however many different elements you spend to cast it, it's an Earth summon. Deal it 4K for each element. So if you spend 3 elements, it's 12K. If you spend 4 elements, it's 16K. It's a really super interesting card that I'm not sure makes the cut.
Now here's a question,
but it's really interesting.
You know how you can overpay by 1? Can you overpay by 1 and have that 5th color register?
Yeah, as long as you're the overpay.
Not that you need to do 20K to something.
The overpay has to come from the hand.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Not that you want to do 20K to something, because at that point you're killing it. It's dead.
But it is. So here's the thing. I don't know if it's worth a slot in an Earth deck because Earth summons are already kind of like really strict right now. So if you're cutting cards for this, it would probably end up being like your cockatrices and stuff.
Which you
I'm
don't
not sure
want to. Hell no.
if you want to do that. However, even in Mono Earth, this easily hits 8K.
Absolutely, because of Shantoto.
And a lot of Mono Earths will even run Camelot.
Yeah.
So if you're running Camelot, Chaos, and Shantoto in your Mono Earth deck, this can hit 12K pretty easily.
Absolutely.
I mean, that might not happen every game, but it can do it, and it's going to at least hit 8.
Yeah, you're killing something. You're 100% killing something.
But again, part of me wishes it was 3 CP, maybe. I don't know.
If it was 3 CP, they'd probably have to reduce that damage down to like 3K per color.
I don't know. Do they, though? 2 colors hit 8K. You have to have 2 colors.
Yeah.
You get 8K for 3, is that... And it's not a burst.
Yeah, maybe.
Because if it's a burst, it would suck.
Yeah, maybe that is fair. Yeah, maybe that is fair.
I'm not sure. Again, it might be getting into the territory where like 1 CP less might make it unfair. So it's hard to say, but my gut tells me that like it would be way more playable.
Yeah, and I think in a deck with Leo, I think it's super playable.
Oh yeah, 100%. You just tap 4 backups, you do 16K to something.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
bad. That's usually generally overkill. But...
Again, it's overkill, so I think the card's fine. I think the card is absolutely fine. I can't wait to see. Again, I can't wait to see what application it has.
And the next one is another Type O monster, 1 CP Ice Snow Giant. For 1 Ice, put him in the break zone and choose 1 forward, dull it, freeze it.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Ghoul did the same thing, but Ghoul didn't break itself.
Ghoul didn't dull and freeze. Ghoul
it just dulled, but it also didn't break itself either.
Ghoul was a 2 CP monster for, I want to say 1 Ice, 1 colorless, tap, dull something.
Yeah. Then Snow Monster breaks itself, right?
Breaks itself.
Yeah, so...
And he costs 1 CP.
Yeah, which I think is fine. I think it's kind of a win more card. Like, you're going to play that thing. If you have the open mana, you're going to dull free something. You're going to get in there. But But also at that point, if you're closing out the game, you're probably going to close out the game with like Genesis or Orphan or something like that. So it's fine. I think it's great and sealed.
Yeah, it's like a cheaper Opus 1 Shiva without EX Burst.
Sure.
Which it seems like a theme of like a lot of these monsters. They're like 1 CP discount for a monster that does the same thing as a summon that has a burst.
Yeah.
Like the one before, the Earth one, the Stadio. Ours is very similar. We'll get to that in a second.
Mm-hmm.
This one is pretty similar to Opus 1 Shiva without a burst. It costs 1 CP less.
Uh-oh. Again, tinfoil hat. So do we go see a rotation at some point? Uh-oh. Nah. Well, that's speculation for another cast.
I think the cool thing about this is it's an Urianger target.
Sure.
Honestly.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe Ice Lighting Urianger might be okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, we'll have to ask Matt Jordan that one because he's our resident Ice Lightning expert.
So the next one was our spoiler.
Oh, a spoiler, you say?
Yeah, so Square Enix was nice enough to give us one, which was really cool.
Yeah, thank you so much.
It was a lot of fun. Like, we had to hold our breath and talk amongst ourselves.
Yeah, because we had a month
to prepare stuff. And we put out a video and an article simultaneously.
Yeah, so check those out if you haven't. They're excellent. Adam does a great job with the articles, and Adam does a great job with the videos. So
yeah, 2 different Adams, in case you didn't know.
Yeah, it's kind of like Hurdy-Gurdy and Clyde. We have Adam, and Chris.
Yeah, so, but our monster was another Type 0 monster. It was a wind.
Wingvern.
2 CP wind monster. Wingvern. For 1 wind, 1 colorless, put him in the break zone. Choose 1 forward, power 9k or more, and break it.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I think it's a piece of removal that Win needs. It makes... What am I trying to say here? You have to be careful, because especially with Opus 5, brought a lot of big, dumb bodies. Like, the game kind of turned into battle cruiser fighting. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that's going to shift. But if you play that guy, and you're playing against a big body deck, all those guys immediately have a target on their back. Yep. So it can be tough. It's good against stuff like Opus 2 Cecil, because it doesn't deal damage, it just breaks something, which is good.
Yep. Or like if Minwu's out on the field.
Right. I think it's fine. But where is it going to see play is the next question.
Fitting it into a deck might be kind of tough. And usually a lot of the monster decks right now want to have monsters that can turn into forwards.
Correct.
And so this kind of limits you to have Realm out to be able to do cool, tricky stuff with it.
Right.
I don't think it's bad.
Yeah, sure.
And I want to hype it up because it's our card. But I do think it's kind of mediocre, to be honest.
Yeah. I think it's great and sealed.
Again, yeah, it is good and sealed. Any kind of removal that's not terribly expensive.
Right.
It's pretty good and sealed. So the next 2 cards we had were French spoilers, and they were spoiled in French.
Yeah. I believe so.
So we had the Warrior Light, which we had briefly seen earlier, but only half the card.
Yeah, we saw. Or is it Italian? Because you were at the Italian Nationals, right?
It was Italian. It was Italian. You're correct. So it's a 6 CP forward, Earth forward, Warrior of Light, 7k power. So instantly you're like, this guy better do something.
Oh, for sure.
Really good.
For sure.
When he enters the field, choose 1 job standard unit, costs 2 or less from the break zone, put it on the field. Does not specify forward.
Correct, which is excellent.
His other ability is when a job standard unit enters the field, Warrior of Light gains plus 2,000 power until end of turn. Mm-hmm. Also pretty good. You can easily play multiple standard units on one turn.
Oh, absolutely.
And then he has an S, and it's just S, and until end of turn, all your forwards gain plus 3k in Brave.
That seems like a really good finish out the game. Just boop, here you go.
Yeah. But my bad, it's S and 2 Earth. And 2 Earth, so not quite as dumb.
So now here's my issue though. Standard units already have a Warrior or Light that I think is exponentially better.
The water one.
Right.
Yeah. I think this is a different deck though, right? Because I feel like you push a different archetype at that point.
Well, yeah, but you're still focusing on standard units now. You're just throwing Earth in the mix, which.
But you could I could see Earth Ice standard units.
Sure. Which I think it is uncharted territory. But I just feel like, man, it's like remember when I wanted to play Sky Pirates, and you were like, man, Wind Water Standard Units is just a better deck.
Yeah.
I think this is kind of the same case in the other direction.
It's probably not going to be better than the existing Earth Ice deck, which is basically 80% Ice and 20% Earth. But
right.
Yeah, I could probably agree with that.
But it would be fun to give it a shot.
Yeah.
I'm all about playing wacky shit, and I think it'll be fun to try. Because who knows? We could see some really bomb-ass standard units in this set that could really, be a catalyst for that to be something.
There's 10 color fix, too, because you can bring back 2-drop. All the 2-drop backups are, a ton of good players.
Sure. Oh, absolutely. So I agree with that. I think it could be helpful, especially if, you just jam some standard units in there to play that guy. Then now your Cactar all of a sudden is jamming for 16K, or
Yep.
you got options.
Yep. And then the other one was Riku. She's a
Yeah.
gold wing forward, Final Fantasy X category, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
3 CP, 7K, so she's on curve. So her field ability is the gold wings you control can't be targeted by abilities. So that's pretty good. She's like a ranger for all your gold wings.
Which is nice.
And then she has an S, Gamble.
Mm-hmm.
Remove her from battle, basically. That's kind of how it translates. I'm not sure how it's going to read in English. And I'm not really 100% sure on how it works yet, but the way I interpret it as is she can block, use her S, remove her from battle, and now that attack still happened. She basically ghost blocked it and stays on the field.
Right. It's similar. We've seen effects like this in other games where you can remove the attacker, remove the defender, as a combat trick in itself. I think it's like you said, good on the defense where she blocks something, they try to Mateus it. You're like, nope, we're good, but I still blocked your attack.
Interesting. If you do it the other way though, I think she still dies. Like if you try to block, be cheeky with something and block with it, and then remove it from battle, and then in response they Mateus. I think.
Well, in response, yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like if they Mateus on the stack instead of you using your S on the stack to Mateus.
Yeah. If you flip flop that, you biffed up. Yeah. So I think she's fine. I think I have the same problem with her that I had with Pain, is that her name is Riku. I like the other Riku better.
The forward one?
Yeah,
I think I like this one more.
Well, because that one's bigger and hexproof, isn't it, too?
Yeah, but she's hexproof to your stuff, too.
Yeah.
This one is a 3K. So the other one's a 4K. This is a 3K. Mm-hmm. The other one relies on you having both Pain and Yuna to be hexproof.
Yeah, true.
And she's hexproof to everything. It's not just your... Not just their stuff, it's your stuff, too.
Yeah, true. But doesn't Pain... Is Pain just summons, or is she summons and abilities?
She just summons.
Okay, so
they work together.
I see that. Okay, that makes sense.
So I kind of like this one more.
Yeah.
The only issue is I don't know. Then you're like, do you play the new Pain because the old Pain's really good, and now you're gonna want to play forward, but I just don't know if the archetype's good in standard.
I think it's great in title though.
Title, it's probably amazing.
Yeah. So I don't know yet. I don't know. I need to see more of what this archetype is going to be. Yeah. This Gull Wing tribal they're really pushing.
Well,
here.
I would guess that's probably all of them.
Unless
maybe one more.
Unless they slam a brother in there, which if they do brother, he's probably either going to be another backup, like a Gull Wing Anthem.
Probably, yeah.
Or he's a forward that'll do something silly. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens, but it's fine.
Yeah, so the next reveal was Layla. She's a 4 CP water forward. Category 2. She's a pirate, not a rebel.
Yarg.
When she enters the field, choose one card named Viking of cost 3 or less in your break zone. Play it onto the field, and she's a 3K, so she's severely understated. My initial thoughts is this is decent. Yeah. I think this could be
we'll draw you a ton of
pretty
cards.
Playable. Yeah, you play through Opus 4 Viking. You draw a card. You block with him. He dies. You draw a card. You play Layla. You get Viking back. You draw a card.
Yeah.
Now you have two 3Ks on the board. And if he leaves play again, you're going to draw another card. I actually think it's really cool. Maybe there's some kind of water-earth build with Opus 4 Delita in it that can abuse this.
Sure.
Where you're like, okay, I have this undersized 4-drop. Now break your 4-drop.
Yeah.
And then, or, KO Viking, break your Viking, break a 3-drop. Play this, get your 3-drop back.
Yeah.
Draw more cards.
Yeah. It's also, in the Pauper deck I'm thinking of too, just the mono water standard units.
Yeah,
the card's really great.
Yeah, again, it could be good with that too, where you're playing the 1 CP Knights and stuff.
Yeah. So I think it's fine. I'm playing the Knights, all the Vikings. You're just drawing a shit ton of cards. I think it's fine. I think it's limited to the type of archetype, but I think otherwise it's fine.
Yeah, I just have a lot of cool ideas with it, and I think it abuses one card enough. But honestly, I don't even think about the other. There's 2 other Viking cards, I think.
Yeah, you just want the one that's going to draw you 2 cards.
Yeah, I just want the one that draws me 2 cards.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that 100%.
So then the last spoiler we have is Ysayle. It's a Final Fantasy 14 backup. When she enters the field, you can search for 1 ice word, add to your hand.
Yeah, she's an Ice Merweb. I think she's fine.
Yeah,
I think she's absolutely fine. I think in some decks, depending, I know sometimes that 1 CP makes all the difference in the world. But I can see that in decks that run Mog 13. I can see it replacing that. Because now you can not only search your Orphan up, you can search up your Sid Allstain. You get another 6 search. You can search out, if you really need that thaumaturge, like to win the game, you search that bastard up. So I think it's good. I think it's a great one of. I think it's going to have a home.
Yeah.
It's fine.
It as long as my issue is if this card is still really good and pushing to the fact where it's pushing now, where you're cutting all this other stuff that's considered good just to push more discard and make it where your opponent just can't play the game.
Yeah.
Then this isn't going to see play. However, I'm not saying it's bad. If another ice deck goes back to kind of like what it was before, where it was more tempo and just still discarding but tempo,
it goes in that.
It's playable.
It's in that mono ice popper deck we're talking about too.
Oh, for sure, it's a good card. I mean, Merweb's a good card. She sees some play, but it's not like she's like crazy, like in every water deck. You know?
Right. I think that card will see as much play as Merweb.
Yeah,
which isn't bad.
I agree with that.
And that's a hell of a segue. So we talked about like that card not being good in like the current discard builds. This is something we kind of touched on too again in the episode that we couldn't release. But let's talk about Kansas City's coming up this weekend. We are less than 7 days away. I mean, I'm pumped.
Yeah, it's gonna be exciting.
I'll be much happier if my back would stop hurting because I'm in a lot of pain just sitting here right now. The meta is in a very interesting place right now. We're seeing a lot of ice. We're seeing a lot of lightning still. At least here in the States, Tricolor Monsters
I'd say East Coast specifically, honestly.
Yeah, is very big. It's kind of the boogeyman for a lot of people.
Yeah,
right
I feel like honestly, obviously we didn't make the deck. The deck's been around.
It was in Europe. It came out of Europe. In Opus 4.
And then I remember a bunch of people were talking about it, and toward the end of Opus 4, talking about how this deck is really, really good. And then in Opus 5 came out, and no one was playing it again, really.
Yeah, because everybody was on Mono Earth
or Mono Ice.
Yeah.
You see it every now and then, top in some events, but on the East Coast, especially here in Virginia, and even when we went to Philly and stuff, people are scared of that deck.
Yeah.
And maybe that has something to do with us. I don't know. It's
possible. Maybe we did talk about it like it was the goddamn Candyman. That's for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. It is a good deck, for sure. But I wouldn't. It's hard because I feel like we know it's good and you see it on our stuff, but I'm not really seeing if I watch the Meta Potion tournaments, I'm not seeing people play
right.
it. When I watch the Singapore tournament, no one had it. If I watched the Italian tournament, I don't know the results, but I don't think anybody had it.
Right, because what you're seeing over there and what you're seeing a lot, and I think you're going to see it a lot here too. Mono Ice has kind of shifted to a super aggressive discard build. Some builds are playing the fucking Trash Man.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't remember his name. What's the Trash Man's, what card?
Gesper.
It's playing that fucking thing.
Yeah.
But you're seeing a lot of turn 1 double Thaumaturge, and then you're seeing as we saw it in the Singapore tournament, double Thaumaturge Trash Man, or was it Argath?
Argath, yeah.
Argath Trash Man Thaumaturge. It's cool. You don't get to play the game.
Yeah. Now you're basically top decking the entire game.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of started. It's been going throughout all of this of Opus 5. But I feel like when it started, it was still you had the 6 package. It was tempo, but you were still messing with their hand, and you had Flans and you had Citadel Stain, but you weren't really running 3 Citadel Stain at the beginning. It was usually 1 or 2. And most of the time throughout the game, you'll eventually get it to where they're top decking and you're top decking.
Yep.
But it wasn't immediately we're both top decking, let's go.
Yep.
And a lot of people thought that what's happening now was going to happen when Buckaboo was first shown, and people were "Oh, this card's nuts," and still not many people were playing it. But the Singapore guy was. I'll get to that in a second. Now it's being pushed in a different direction too, where you're seeing players like Jamie Faulkner in UK. And if you look at his deck, Setzer's gone.
Yeah, it's 3 Citadel Stain, 3 Orphan, the top, and 3 Vayne. So their top curve is pretty set.
Yeah. And even his is still more of a tempo-y stuff. He just eliminates Setzer, only runs 1 Banana Sid, still has a 3 Stella, still has a 3 Lock for stalling or canceling summons and being able to become unblockable and so forth.
Yep.
Discard, and all these decks still have Genesis in it. Which,
of course.
Honestly, that's the best card in the game.
No, I don't disagree with that one. I think Genesis is the best card in the game.
Yeah, it just does a lot. It's crazy. So Mono Ice is definitely a problem. And a lot of people understand that, and that's why they're playing it. I don't blame them.
No, absolutely. I think because like we said, we've talked before on this cast that the monster deck can be oppressive because it can just essentially lock you out of the game. You can't. It's a control deck.
Yeah.
You try to stick a creature. Well, you know what? It's going to remove that creature, and then it's gonna just ping you to death. It's just going to win the long game on you. Ice deck doesn't even let you play the game because if they get the nuts, you just don't. You're done. You just they're going to have to stumble, or you're going to have to really stick something major.
So I think
to win.
The big shift has been like a lot of people. So Faulkner didn't really have the full pack. I mean, he had the Thaumaturges and he had one Argas. So that's 4. Some people are shifting all the way over, and I think you even saw it in UK Nats a little bit, where you're running like 3 and 2, 3 and 3 sometimes, and you're playing for that opening, play 2 2-drops, have things that are doing damage on the board, and get started 2 cards. And I mean, you watch the UK Nationals, like Alex McCool didn't even get to really play.
Yeah.
And he was playing Mono Ice too, so you can't really feel but so sorry for him. I mean, I love the guy. I've been on this podcast. Awesome dude. Great player. But you're both playing the same deck, and he just
if the shoe was on the other foot.
Yeah. I mean, obviously he was playing a faster version. I don't think Alex had Thaumaturges in his deck.
Sure.
And I do think that is a bit of a mistake. But again, I mean, it's ice. Ice is ice is ice is ice.
Right.
And then you got the Singapore tournament where he's pushing it even further in that direction.
Like it's greedy as hell.
So he only ran like 9 backups. He's running 3 Buckaboo, 3 Gesper, 6 2-drops, 3 heroic Opus 1 Snows, and just like he's gonna shit his hand out turn 1, and then he's gonna basically force you to top deck. But he builds his deck to the point where he only needs 1 backup to play pretty much his entire deck.
Oh yeah.
Except for like Genesis and a few other cards.
Which I feel like Genesis is his finisher.
Yeah, probably.
If you stick a guy, I'm playing Genesis, and I'm just going to swing.
I don't even know if I saw him play it in the semifinal match I watched, where he won.
Like, that's insane. And, like, I don't know. That now, with that being said, that's going to have a huge influence on what happens at Kansas, right?
Yeah, we'll see. I'm not sure if people are super convinced here or even in the UK that full on that direction is the right way to go. I think if you ask people in UK and here, they're still on like the Flan train. I think maybe cutting Setzer might be something you might see.
Sure.
But I think you're still going to see 6 cards in decks.
Locke and Celis aren't going anywhere. Setzer, sure, because sometimes getting that Sit-All Stain off the top for burst, sometimes that'll just win you the game. Or sometimes just playing him for 5 when your opponent has no cards in hand will just straight up win you the game. Setzer's not really going to win you the game unless you attack with him to make it like an awkward block. It's more involved to make him a finisher. All Stain, you just fucking you drop him on the table.
Something
it's like,
dies.
Exactly. It's like he's dead. I win.
Yeah.
But those are the only 2 decks. Mono water spells, as I'm calling it, like the Garnet summon deck is still very good.
Yeah, in my opinion, Mono Ice is tier 1. I'd probably put Monsters there with it and say that is tier 1. And then I think after that everything's like kind of 1.5-ish.
Sure.
That's not to say that you could argue that they're tier 1. And I think it would probably be fine. Like, I wouldn't argue against you if you're like, these are the tier 1 decks. But just to me, those are like, these 2 are like a step above the rest.
Oh, I agree. We're talking S tier. I think really at the end of the day, Ice is like as S tier as it gets.
Yeah, and I mean, you could probably argue that Monsters might be a rung below. I'm not sure. Yeah. I think the deck is impressive.
Oh, I agree.
I really do.
It's A. If you were to go like S, A plus, A tier, like if you were to look at the top 3 tiers, you would have probably Ice at S tier, Monster at A plus tier. Then I would put in the next tier down. I'd probably put like.
So you got both the mono water decks.
Both mono water decks.
So I'm talking about Monsters and then like Garnet basically.
Yeah, and then
Garnet Knights.
Yeah, or where would you put Fasoya? I guess Fasoya.
I think that's in the same build.
Yeah.
It's just whether or not you want to. I think the deck is core is the same. It's just like sometimes some run Fasoya, some don't. Some run different summons than others.
Sure. It's really all the end game is the same. The shell is the same.
Yeah, like they're all running the Knights of some form. Like Steiner Beatrix probably, and if they're running Beatrix, they tend to run Fasoya at that point. Then you got some that are running like more heavy Cloud of Darkness stuff. All of them probably have Garnet in there of some sort, and then Some of them have varying summon packages. Some are running like 15 summons, some are running 9, some are running 10, 11. It just depends. But to me, that's like the same archetype. It's just different flavors.
Yep.
But it's cool to see that all the flavors are pretty different.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think they're all pretty good.
Yep, I agree. I 100% put the Fire Ice 6 deck in that same rung.
Monsters are there. Mono Water monsters are there too. And honestly, Mono Water monsters might also be tier 1 up there.
Yeah, possibly A+ tier.
It's just, again, they're hard to interact with. Cognazo is really good.
Mm-hmm.
If you are in a meta where they allow you to play slow, the only issue is like that if you're playing that new Mono Ice deck, like they might not even have time.
True.
To set up.
That is true.
But who knows? I haven't played enough matchups against that specific build to really know.
I agree.
Then you got like.
So I said, I think Fire Ice,
Earth Wind, I think is right there.
I put Mono Earth there as well.
Yeah, I would almost put Mono Earth one rung below those decks. I think it's good.
Yeah. And the only reason I don't is because I feel like it seems like more so like in the Asian meta, it's winning tournaments a lot more over there than it is anywhere. Like, it's making up the majority of the field elsewhere, but it's not winning like it is over there. And maybe that's just maybe it's an issue with the pilot.
Maybe it's hard. I'm sure they're all everywhere is good players.
Sure.
It's just different play styles and stuff like that. Different card selection.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It just, to me, I feel like it's like a rung below, and I don't think it's bad. Like, again, I think any of these decks that we just stated can win a tournament.
I agree. I think you could pick any of these decks that we just mentioned, go to Kansas City, play your best, and make the cut. Yeah. I think you can.
I'm trying to think if I'm like forgetting anything, really. I think those are the big ones. Oh, Mono Lightning. I feel like a lot of people are forgetting about it.
I'd almost put Mono Lightning like... Shit. Like, when you look at Mono Lightning, I'd put that up there. I guess that's up there with, like... Again, the Mono Waters, the Fire Ice. Yeah, I think right there at that A tier.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people forget about that. And, Ice Earth still gets a lot of play as well.
I agree.
But I feel like Mono Lightning is the deck where people are, like, leaving off their lists a lot of times.
Which, in the Singapore tournament, there was 2 of them. And I think the top 2 seeds...
It's still real good.
Were Mono Lightning. The deck can just shit on you out of nowhere. And I think with the Einstein, it just gets a little bit faster.
Maybe. I do think... That deck list is pretty tight as well. It's hard to find room. I think Zemus, honestly, at this point, I think you should play Zemus in your Mono Lightning deck.
Oh, I agree.
And the faster deck, I don't know if he really warrants as much play. So I feel like that kind of pushes that deck out. But you're still running like a Lewis and stuff. Yeah. That card's too good.
Zemus is a very good card.
I think Zemus is really good against the discard stuff. You're just deal with this card now. Or I'm going to start playing back everything that you made me discard.
All those Alcids and shit you made me discard, well, guess what? They're coming back.
Yeah.
And it turns out Alcid by himself can kill a Thaumaturge, can kill Argath, can kill... It's fine. You don't care.
Yep. But it is tough if they can't get it online. And if they have an answer for your Zemus.
So, I guess saying all that is... there are some boogeymen of the meta, but it's still... anybody's game. Like, it's, again, I've said it many times before, this game really favors repetition and knowing the matchups, knowing the decks, knowing the matchups. So if there's a deck you feel comfortable with, that's what you need to play if you go to a big tournament. Don't try to if you see a deck that's winning and you don't know how to play it, don't play it just for the sake of it winning, because all these decks, Mono Ice isn't autopilot. 3-color monsters is certainly not autopilot. Mono Earth and Mono Lightning are about as autopilot as it gets, but still, you make the wrong move, you're probably going to lose, especially with how the meta is. Like the mistakes in this game are already unforgiving, but currently, you can make one mistake and it will cost you the game.
Yeah, someone might fight you on Mono Ice not being autopilot, but I think definitely you can tell when a better player is playing it.
And that's what I'm saying.
For sure. I think the thing that frustrates more people about monsters too is when they lose to people that misplay and still lose to it, just because of like the sheer amount of removal.
And that just goes back to control decks, right? Like a control deck is going to do its absolute best to lock you out of the game at any turn. And sometimes if they make a mistake, it doesn't matter because they've got you so shook already that they can afford the misplay.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're just playing, at the end of the day, the people who are complaining about monsters, maybe you're just not playing a deck that's good enough to beat it or good enough to compete. Because this game really, there's people who love homebrewing in this game. They love taking their own deck to a tournament, like, oh, this is my mono fire type 0, flippity floppy, whatever. You sit, you might do fine against other homebrews or whatever, but you sit across like from like a tier 1 competitive deck, you're gonna get your ass handed to you. And we talked about this briefly in our group chat, specifically with monsters. And this is a word kind of off topic, but kind of similar. A deck like that, because it is a control deck, it's really the only control deck in the game currently. Though you could argue the mono ice discard, not the super aggressive one, but that kind of mid-rangey one, is more.
I would consider control though, just because it's like it's not really removing a lot of your threats. It's just.
It's kind of 8-rackish in the sense where it's making you play with limited resources, and the resources you have just can't do anything.
Yeah.
But excuse me. The only thing I worry about is the game is at a point now where it is growing. Mm-hmm. It's growing pretty quickly. The community's getting bigger. I mean, like podcasts are popping up left and right. There's more tournaments. More people are playing the game, and my biggest worry is that because these two S-tier decks are super oppressive, that can stunt player growth.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. Even the other decks aren't very fun to lose to.
Sure.
Like any of those decks I just said. So, I mean, I'll just go through it really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Mono Ice.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get to play. They discard your hand.
Yep.
You feel terrible because
Mm-hmm.
you didn't get to play the cards that you put in your deck. Monsters. You play something, they remove it. You never get to play your stuff because it's always dead. Water.
Mm-hmm.
You might not be as good. You're learning how to play the game, and you're
Mm-hmm.
playing decks that you like to play, and then all of a sudden, 8 turns in, you're staring across from 6 11Ks.
Yep.
And
like, oh, shit.
you can't do anything
Mm-hmm.
because you're probably not running Shantoto.
Yep.
And they're just going to run you over.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't feel good.
Mm-hmm.
Underwater monsters. Cognazo, that feels terrible to lose
Mm-hmm.
against. You're just like, oh,
That's
2, 4, 6, 8, 10, you're
that card's a new player's nightmare.
Lightning, Alcid, like that card's when I play, I feel so like I'll use last Tuesday as an example. I didn't win the tournament. Colin and Ron took me down. Congrats to them. They played really well. But I was playing against a newer player, and I played Alcid on him, and I was like, that guy. Here's another guy. He's dead. I got 2 forwards. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's tough because like that's not fun either.
Mm-hmm.
Because like you probably didn't even know that card existed.
Oh yeah.
And now I got 2 forwards and you got none.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like stuff like that, and I mean even like Earthwind, like Dodaluma, that doesn't feel good.
Well, Dodaluma's fine on his own. Dodaluma Cactar is when it starts getting tricky.
Yeah, I mean even then, just him alone is a card for a newer player to really like understand like out the gate.
Oh yeah. Perfect example of that is Sarah. She didn't understand how Dodaluma worked in in a couple situations in one of the tournament when we went down to it at Pocket. And she was visibly frustrated by that.
Even
card.
in the top 8, the Earth player, I talked to him after, and he played me the next round.
Yeah, I remember that.
I told him after the game, I was like, man, when he swung with Black Waltz, the game was over.
Yeah.
Because he has to target your Dodaluma with Black Waltz, or if he doesn't target it, Black Waltz doesn't do anything. He just dies.
Mm-hmm.
And Dodaluma sits there, and he's like, oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I forgot that it was also target. So it's, and he was playing the card.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, the thing is, a lot of stuff that's considered good or oppressive is also going to deter people, and they're going to be like, well, this is stupid, and I want to play what I want to play. And maybe those people, I don't want to like hate on them or anything, but maybe you shouldn't play competitively. And that's fine.
Sure.
Final Fantasy is a great IP. I think the card game's great.
Play at the level you want to play at,
yeah.
but don't get frustrated.
Don't let those decks ruin the game experience for you.
Right.
And
what's unfortunate is they're gonna. They are just straight up
Sure.
gonna if you let it get to you.
And I still think the game is really balanced.
Sure.
With that said. But yeah, I mean, there are a lot of feels bad cards. Like, if they get played on you. But again, from a competitive standpoint, I like that. Because I like cards that do things that are, like, good. Like, really good. Because then that makes decks more fun to play. If everything was mediocre and we were just, like, whipping each other with towels, like, it's not fun.
Sure. And I do agree with that to an extent. But the only reason I say I bring up like the 2 S tier decks as opposed to the other ones, more so monsters in particular, is because
I agree.
you're not playing the game essentially.
I agree. They're playing a different game,
right?
And I think Curtis's name for the deck is very
accurate.
He calls the deck Solitaire. And I think that's really all I care about is that what you played. I'm just gonna kill it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna use what I have in my hand, and I'm gonna play
my game, and I don't care what you're doing over there.
So I mean, yeah, I mean,
and the reason I brought that up completely is because the game is in a place right now where it can just skyrocket up. Like we've seen that growth in the last year. And I don't want there to be I don't want it to be like a Magic like standard format where all of a sudden one or two decks are winning, and then if you're not playing those, you shouldn't bother going to a competitive event. And I don't want that to happen.
I feel like right now we're far from that.
I
however, it can happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be hard to keep everything in check because we don't have a rotation in this game. Mm-hmm. So they have to constantly think about every card when they play a card.
Which I think sometimes doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Because this isn't like Magic, right? Where Magic is its own entity. This is part of Square Enix. They're putting attention to it. But I don't know if they have like a legit R&D team that's jamming out games or testing 4 sets in advance.
I feel like they do a pretty good job for the most part. Like even the cards that are like we consider broken.
Well, because you can see that in like chapters cards that they're clearly different than what they were there.
My biggest offender is Genesis, honestly.
Oh, he's the most busted card in the game.
I mean, I think monsters are really frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that they need to create some more answers to it that don't dilute other decks.
Sure.
But like, I think Genesis is more of an offender than any monster card in the game.
Overall, I think the game is fine. I think the meta is fine. There are some boogeymen. There are some some cards where and that's also what happens sometimes in a best of one. You have 5 rounds of Swiss. Sometimes your opponent gets the nuts on the opening hand and you just lose.
Yeah.
But what you do is, and sometimes, and that's card games. Sometimes you just don't get there and you can't win them all.
Yep.
But you can do your part to know that deck, and like if you're sitting across a mono ice deck, granted sometimes you might not know, but more times than not, if you're sitting across from a spot, you know what they're going to be playing, or you have an idea. But if they hit you with like double thaumaturge into Trash Man, you're just kind of like, oh shit, I got to figure something out, and I've got to figure it out quick. Like at that point, you need to know what the follow-ups to that deck are and what you have at your disposal to at least get on the board.
Yep.
Monsters, you and I have talked about that against monsters. You kind of have to play to your hands. Sometimes you just have to get under them, or sometimes you can outgrind them. Believe it or not, you most certainly can. It just really depends. You play, especially with my deck, I have to kind of play the way the deck tells me to play is the way I'm going to play that match. Sometimes I go over, sometimes I go under, sometimes I get fucking brick walled. That's the game. It happens. You can't win them all. But I think overall the meta's in a good place.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
I think the game's still...
It's obviously not perfect, but I think it's still... There's a lot of decks you can play that can win a tournament.
Oh, yeah.
And there's decks on that list that could probably win a tournament. Not on that list.
I agree.
So, I mean...
And here's the thing, too. Like, you're not always going to play perfect. Like, for example, in Philly, I made the puntest of punts. My one loss was to Nicholas Chanel. Shout outs to Nick, man. You're a great guy. I punted my ass off in that game against him. But I realized that immediately it was too late after that fact. But, and he 100% took advantage of it, which is what I'm saying. If your opponent hits you with that big hand and they misstep after that, that's your chance. Don't miss your chance.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's probably a good place to stop, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. Otherwise, we had a lot of good tournament results coming up. We got Kansas City this weekend. I can't wait to see everybody there. This is the Wind Crystal Cup.
Yep.
So it's going to be a great tournament. I can't wait to see if anybody's got some spice they're working on for it. Mm. But I do expect a lot of the I don't want to say the same old, but a lot of the heavy hitters.
I call them the usual suspects.
All the hits, exactly. This is now that's what I call Crystal Cup Volume 3 is what we're gonna have. So expect that might be the name of this episode. So I think this will be a great time. I can't wait. We real quick before we sign off, because we got to do that. We did hit a milestone. We have over 100 subscribers on YouTube, and we are very close
we
to
hit
having
it.
100 followers.
I need to make a post on Facebook.
So we did get the Facebook one as well. So excellent. So as of today, we have, we got the 100 club. So I know we posted another giveaway.
This time I'm going to do it on Facebook just because
Yes.
it's easier to track people down.
Correct. So
yeah, the YouTube one was a bit of a struggle.
So what we're going to do is we're going to make a post proposing a question. We don't know what that question is, but when it pops up, you'll know it. And we want you guys to answer that question, and we'll pick the winner of that. Because I like making these things interactive. I just don't want to draw a name out of the hat.
And the only thing that's required is that you have to be subscribed to both.
Yes, you have to be subscribed to our YouTube channel and our Facebook page with RVA Returners.
Not just subscribe, you have to follow the Facebook page and be subscribed to the channel.
Yes. And from there, we've got a really cool giveaway this time. We have one of the Opus 5, one of the black playmats.
The pre-release playmat.
Yeah, pre-release playmat, and we have a really swanky Final Fantasy tote bag. So if you like shopping for organic produce like I do, you're going to be the belle of the ball in your local farmers market, representing your favorite trading card game. So, we've got that coming up. Yeah, we're just excited. Like, a lot of things are happening, with our channel, with the state of the game. Like, we're just really excited to be a part of it. So we're just trying to do our best to try to make this community as interactive as possible. I know we're talking about some collaborations with some other guys coming up. I know I've talked to the guys over at Triple Triad about doing a little cross podcast. Those guys are great. I'd love to do something with the Choker Bros. Love to do something with. I know you were on the Crystal Tower, back when I was in Ohio.
Yep.
So, I really want to involve as much of the community in what we do as possible. So please, we appreciate all the likes, we appreciate all the subscriptions, all the follows, all the above. We couldn't do this without you guys. So with that being said, we are going to go ahead and sign unless you want to add anything.
No, that's
there.
it.
Not this time, you don't have any? You
no,
sure?
No, sure.
So you're sure?
Yeah, we'll see everybody in Kansas City.
We'll see everybody in Kansas City. You sure? You got nothing?
I'm sure. It's okay.
Okay. Bye, guys.